Well, hello everybody. It is Thursday, or as some may say, Thor's Day. I like Thor. Thought he was Chris. What was the guy's actor's name? That thought he played a pretty good Thor. But anyway, welcome everyone. It's so good to see everybody. All we can say is that we like to speak favor as we begin these adventures. Some call them mind trips. Some call them lectures into, other alternate reality. I'm trying to put the right word in there. But anyway, welcome. Hello, everybody in the chat room. And real quick, before I speak favor over us all, which I already did, thank you all for the support you did with Dr. Irene Blindstone. Yeah, y'all really did it. We not only doubled it, but we tripled her subscribers.
Good.
Yeah. I think that's great. So a lot of you planted your good seed. That's good karma. She's a good person. So again, nothing missing, nothing broken. We like to say that that is the peace that surpasses all understanding. And finally, we believe in good mental health here. We also believe in good soul health. And that is be kind to your mind and your soul. Give your soul a hug. Because sometimes you need that. And I just want to speak out to Jim Hall. Brother, says he suffered a stroke on Saturday. And so we just send you a big hug and um, full restoration to the body. That's the way I look at it, because that's what we're thinking. So anyway, and if there's anyone else that's got things attacking you, well, we send out the same thing. Healing sometimes has gotten to be where it's like, huh, big deal. But if you talk about restoration to your body, that's cool. Mhm. I think it could be interpreted as, maybe good health is long life. I don't know. So anyway, it's Thursday. I have the lovely couple, and I'm honored to have them on each Thursday, Mike and Cindy from Evolutionary Healing Arts, and there's three other channels there. And by the way, I put a new link down underneath. Welcome, y'all. How are you doing?
Hi, Wayne.
Hi.
We're good. We're just kind of I'm really curious about what's coming, all the changes that we're having and this eclipse that is coming up is so I'm just watching. I'm kind of at the edge of my seat because it's something that it's an important eclipse. It's like when the lights go out with this eclipse, everything that is needing attention is going to show itself. So, the lights go out, things are going to not have anywhere to hide, those things that are no longer working. And this goes from inside of us to outside of us. And just like we were talking earlier, isn't it interesting the placement of that eclipse over Antarctica? So
The
it's,
one place no human can go.
Mhm.
no human. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they guard that. They
They'll
really
shoot
guard.
you, literally.
Mhm.
Hmm.
You know, it's like shoot first and then ask questions later. That's really odd. It's
Yeah.
like the whole thing, is there something there? Is that where the retreat is? I mean, do we get the metaphor from Superman and his ice cave? Is that reference to a civilization that somehow is underneath the ice? I mean, I did, wasn't
It,
Superman's ice cave? Wasn't he in like North or South Pole, something like that?
Something like that. I remember the ice cave. Yeah. And
yeah.
I also remember the people, for some reason, what's coming to me is the people in space that are in the mirror. Remember that? That always really creeped me out. And they're flying through space and they're trying to get out of this mirror and they can't.
Oh yeah, yeah. When they were trapped into that containment.
Hmm.
I think there's something to that. There's got to be. They
Yeah.
wouldn't put it in there if there wasn't.
The
You know.
universe is too vast, and did y'all see the show I did on the Fermi paradox?
I don't think so.
So the Fermi paradox says that if there's all these stars and all these solar systems and all planets like Earth, better, even more habitable, where is everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's quiet. And we have this thing with the UFO phenomenon, alien ET. Um, is that real? Is because it would seem like both Carl Sagan, Hawking said the same thing. It seems like we've been deliberately isolated. I mean, we're not in the suburbs, we're not in the rural area that we're out in the, well, someplace that doesn't even exist anymore. But that's where we are in the universe, and it's just, I mean, it's a good question. Where is everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think again, like if you talk to the indigenous people and they'll be like, what do you mean? We see people all the time. We see ships, we see lights, we know we are able to astral project and leave here. I mean, it's been brought up again that there's a million different reasons why we could never really truly travel out there to other planets and all. But when we leave the body behind, we could go anywhere, and instantaneously. It's just a matter of focus. But at the same time, they don't cultivate that at all. No, they dumb us
Well,
down.
science rejects that as just merely, imaginary,
Mm-hmm.
or belief system in
Right.
esoteric theology.
But ultimately, you know that what they're doing is selling us a program, and it's programming. It's programming our minds. Just like, again, you go to school, it's traumatic. It stays imprinted in you. Everything that we encounter is all about like hammering the self out of you until you just become an automaton for the system. So, of
The
course, they're going to
Borg.
tell us if, say, the ultimate control system was brought here or came here from somewhere else, they don't want you to think there's anywhere else. There's only here. This is the only place that matters, is what they're going to sell. They don't want you thinking that, oh, maybe, they came from over here or over there. They're going to want to hide that. But all the legends talk about it. African legends of the Chitori, which are gnarly beings. They just imagine, humanoid kind of gators or crocodiles type of beings that literally came out of ships, came here and took us over.
Bipedal, by the way.
Bipedal, yeah, absolutely. Walking on 2 feet, and some of the stuff from the E-files is all about something that none of us would ever do for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, but obviously some of them do partake in certain things that should definitely be off the menu, always.
Well,
But what
wasn't the whole snake, the reptile in the garden? I know the story very well. The
yeah,
serpent was a bipedal, intelligent speaking being.
Wayne, can you talk about the bipedal part of that? Too, like
Yeah,
when you that's a big revelation there, because we all automatically we look at symbolically, the knowledge of good and evil and everything, eating the apple. We were actually touching on the very act of eating in a video last week sometime. And did the act of eating kind of bring us down in frequency? Then, if the act of eating an apple is going to lower your vibrations, the eating of a cow is going to lower them more. Well, then the eating of, you know, our own species would be as low as you could go vibrationally. And yet it seems that that's what is being exposed. But for a different species, to a croc or an alligator, we might taste like chicken. It might be, it might
yeah.
be very acceptable to a different species. So, are we trying again to emulate them?
They were here. It never said where they went.
Yeah, exactly.
Genesis never brings it. And then if you read the pseudo-apocrypha, the apocalypse of Adam and Eve, in that story, and it picks up when they were kicked out of the garden. By the way, the Garden of Eden was located in the center of Sumer, which if you read your Bible and study, you'll see it in Genesis. It's not Sumer, it's Shinar. which means Sumer. So the story picks up that when they get outside the garden, they almost, in fact, they did die. Adam either died or committed suicide well over 15 different times. Eve, I think she committed suicide about seven or so. But one of the problems they had was that when they ate the food outside of their environment, it made them sick.
Hmm.
And it took, guess who it took? The serpent to come in and teach Adam which foods were going to be good for him, which were not. In fact, it was the serpent who told Adam, listen, you're outside now. You're going to have to think about this procreation thing. And it was the bipedal serpent who had arms just like us. The curse hadn't taken effect yet to where they would crawl on their belly. Remember that? So
Right.
it's interesting. And, it seems like in one sense, the bipedal creatures were actually our teachers,
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
which would make sense that they were here way before we were.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. There are,
that's what
again,
I know.
like the Dogons say that their ancestors come from, Sirius. That's where our ancestors come from. This is again another African tribe, but you'll find these things in other mythologies around the world. There's so much that you were just talking about to go off on different tangents with. I mean, it's just so fun. So much is coming back. Like you were talking Sumer, I think about etymology wise, like Sioux, south, Mare, water. What's, the land at the end of all the water in the south? It's Antarctica again. Does Antarctica even sweep around and encapsulate us? Again, remote viewing, and I've had her remote view it many times. I probably have annoyed her saying, "Get more info, get more info. What do you see? What do you see?" And again, she sees that we're in some sort of shallow depression. And yeah, so there is this rim, there is this like lip up and around us. So, what is the true motion of the sun? And, how big is everything really? And,
How long lived is everything?
right,
I
again,
contended with Dr. Blundstone that I said, here's what I think. Until the oceans drain, we're never going to, because that's where the evidence is of
Hmm.
the ancient civilizations. It's underwater.
Hmm.
Because at one time, Lumer, wasn't Lumeria the
Mhm.
single, and then you had the splitting, and where did those people go? They were intelligent, highly advanced civilizations.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Lemuria was like kind of centered, it seems, in the Indian Ocean, but did go all the way to Australia. We know that Zealandia was a continent, and so much bigger than current New Zealand. That was all connected, even up into Indonesia. So you could literally go by land, from China all the way out to New Zealand at one point in time. So yeah, again, we could see the clues that we were way more advanced in the past than we are now, and it's just all the mind control. As we were saying, I would,
Government. Yeah, tell everyone. I mean, because
well,
this is about the
govern
government.
to govern is control. Ultimately, that's what it means. Control.
Mind
Ment
control.
is mind, so it literally translates as mind control. And this is what they do. I mean, we're just waking up to this now. The masses are just waking up. Maybe a couple percent of people have had this all their lives. But, again, it's nice to be verified, but at the same time, it's a stark reality to find yourself facing.
And
Hmm.
that's why we were late, folks. And welcome everyone in the chat room. Much love to all of you. Y'all make this a fun place. People say it all the time. So
Hmm.
thank you. Um, so we try to define our reality. And it's typically, as the first law of hermetic says, that the universe is mental. Second law is that all paradoxes have a solution. So, all right, so if we take the first one, mental, um, the evidence that we deceive ourselves on a daily basis is that we try to not pay attention to this because I want to stay focused here. And it could be an energy thing, could be, but it's thought. In the meantime, you've got these thought controllers that are playing us like, a bad game of pinball.
Oh, it's terrible.
And it is terrible. No sooner
Mhm.
do you recover from the smack they get you, another one is coming. And I got frustrated when I began to see, for instance, everyone is all about the Epstein files. Everywhere you go, they're talking about it. Epstein
Mhm.
this, Epstein. But yet, no one talked about it in the Biden administration.
Mhm.
McGarland, Garland, he didn't do anything. No one did anything in the first Trump administration. No one did anything in the Obama administration. But now it's this real big deal. And now we're finding some weird stuff out. I mean, this was, pedophiles have been around, let's just be honest, since we've been around.
Mhm.
We are a species, if you believe the biblical story, we are a species that is based upon incest.
Mhm.
And there's no other way. We don't like talk about this because, this is, but it's the truth. This is what our species is. And so pedophilia, very well known in the Catholic Church, a number of popes have been written about that. So I see all this uproar, and yet at the same time, we have things going on economically that in one hand it looks like it's really good, but on the other hand, it's bad.
There's the other part of this eclipse too, with this 18-year cycle. So if you go previous this eclipse, that lands us at around 2008 when they did have the financial crackdown. Things didn't work so well. Um, and it's like oceans of money that just froze, rivers of money just froze, and houses were just ghosts, and it was really quite frightening, but everything that was not working was revealed. So from that point on, anything that was used to fix the thing, if it's not functional, it doesn't belong. So what are we looking at with this 2026 eclipse? This is everything that's not supposed to be or is not functional is going to fall away. So this makes me think this whole thing, our whole financial system, it is not functioning, obviously, like you have.
Yeah, I think March is a big bump in the road, or even maybe it'll happen before that. We were talking also about there's something else huge coming that we're not seeing. Obviously, economic collapse and switch over to a new monetary system. Everybody in our circles knows about that.
Feels like a Tatarian
There's
do-over.
something else. Yeah. Have you seen Mind Unveiled's video on this whole take with the e-files tying back to Tartaria and the Cabbage Patch Kids and the clone babies? Because I mean, you got to watch it if you guys haven't watched Mind Unveiled's last video.
AI babies is
AI
called.
babies. I mean, it's the same thing that's been ongoing,
They're like
you know.
preparing for a reset.
So here you go, right? When we were talking about Cain and Abel, right? And we're talking about the first biblical humans, Adam and Eve. That's not the first humans. That's
Mm-mm.
the that's the controllers introducing in a new modified human to wipe out all the others because this one will be more controllable. And that's what they want to do with us, wipe us out and replace us with beings that could be controlled remotely through the nanotech and the frequency.
Great. Yeah. I mean, remember, Cain was banished by God. And he said, banished to the people of the high plains. Oops. Guess we weren't supposed to put that in there, right?
Mhm.
And, because somebody else was around here.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and I was taught, actually, it was Kenneth Copeland who taught me this in one of his series that we have a system of debt.
Hmm.
And actually, we inherited that from the Babylonians. They
Yes.
were the ones who introduced the whole capitalism idea. And I have this up here because this is reality. And no matter what we talk about, if you're in the United States, um, this is reality. And this reality that they're trying to paint for us is an illusion. If any one of us were 124% over our income, most likely you may be in jail for fraud, but there's no way that you would be able to survive. And my point by bringing up this whole thing with the debt clock is that this is a digital reality that we're moving to.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
because this is not real to anybody, it's just numbers, and no one really cares because it doesn't really impact us on a daily basis. But yet, my whole point to this is a reality that impacts all the rest of our perceptions and constructs of what reality is or where we are. So
Hmm.
we're in deep stuff. If you're a United States citizen, we are technically bankrupt, and we have no idea the financial ramifications when they bring in the Fed digital dollar, which Trump has already said they're going to do. You know what the first casualty is?
Hmm.
Banks.
Hmm.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't need them anymore.
It's frightening, also 2008, right around there, a lot of the Bitcoin things were launched, and maybe to show that, oh, okay, well, we don't have this financial system, let's try this financial system, and that's been clicking on for 18 years now. When those lights go out,
And if
that's
you
not supposed
invested
to
in
make it.
Bitcoin, you took it in the shorts big time.
Now, I there is a problem, definitely, and I feel sad for a lot of people. But I think there could be a slingshot effect, and I can't figure out what it is. It's just something. I mean, my intuition could be way off on this one, but there's something that is gonna hopefully come of it if
I,
somebody
I
did
think again,
invest.
the dollar is what's in that terminal state. Now you're looking at the debt clock, and I could get riled up looking at it thinking, well, they spent all this money on all their type of sick, disgusting, perverted programs and extortion. Screw that. They shouldn't get a penny from any of us ever again. And we should just say that debt is just bull. It's complete bullshit because it's been misrepresented to us. This has been an extortion series of
Of which the Federal
extortion.
Reserve is. It's nothing
Yes.
more than legalized extortion.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did I tell you that I did a video back in 2018, just talking about what the Fed is, and they kept it at 86 views for years. 86, Cindy tells me, well, that means it's off the menu. I wasn't familiar with that term, but she was a past hostess and, waitress. So she knew that term. And it's like, wow, okay. 86, they kept it right at 86. They're like, you're not supposed to talk about it. Not only that, because our tax dollars basically end up going to the UN, and they get funneled for everything all over the world. We know, it's all been just complete scam. So, I mean, really, obviously,
Well, it's
the
a
thing,
consultant to the Federal Reserve.
yeah.
Yeah, for over a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My specialty was we were bringing pay at the table to the United States, and we were experts in debit card transactions.
Mhm.
And that was back in the day when the debit card was just coming out. And so what the Fed wanted to know from us was, number one, what was the adoption rate? Were there demographics involved? Which type of demographics? So yeah, uh, testified before the Senate Banking Subcommittee on, fraud. So yeah, it's a fraud. I'm
It's
just
a
telling
fraud.
you.
If
Yeah.
somebody can
You
spot one, you
know,
can.
and I want to get back on that as you brought out, Michael, is that the debt. I mean, it shows that this is a failed system.
Hmm.
And I was talking about a death cult because you see, that's the death of the dollar. And if you look at the definition of what a death cult is, it follows to those who are deliberately collapsing this. And they've put us, so much into debt. And there's an old proverb that says that the debtor is slave to the lender. So in essence, they've sold us into digital slavery
Mhm.
because there's no way that, I don't know, do y'all have about $323,000 hanging around your house?
Just, yeah,
Yeah, it's just out in the
Rama.
backyard because let me go get in the on the press. But that's what we're indebted to.
Mhm.
And that's reality. And and y'all do it every day. You give a good synopsis overview of this insanity of our
Yeah.
planet. And if ET exist, and if they have solved the space-time problem, and if they're, a type 2, maybe type 3 civilizations, which would make sense that they would if they were there, they've got to be looking at us and just say, these people worship death. I mean, it's in our food, it's in our water, it's in our medicine, it's in our financial system, it's in the way that we perceive, society, culture. I dare say even it is into metaphysics of religion and philosophy.
Mhm. Mhm. Speaking to the when it comes to extra ultra terrestrials and other alignments that we have right now, I'm thinking that that could very well come to the surface over the next year. I feel pretty confident about it when we're talking about, Rahu, a node of the moon, is going to be in Aquarius. And prior to this, last time it was in Aquarius, we had the iPhone, which brought about a lot of communication. And prior to that, they sort of launched the internet, which brought about a new way of communicating. So now that we have this placement again, I feel we're going to have not only a new way of communicating, but new beings to communicate to. It's like it's going to launch something incredible, I feel, this year. Which what could blow our minds at this point? Well, if everyone finally saw what we are dealing with, that would blow my mind. If everything came out into the open across mainstream, where neighbors and no one can deny it anymore.
Mhm.
That's what I would like, that kind of communication. So we'll see. There's a lot in play right now.
There, have you seen the Netflix series? I think it's a three body problem.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
we loved. I
We
mean,
love
that
that.
Yeah.
was like
So
great.
I'd love to get y'all's take on this because it has changed my way. So why would an alien race want to get in touch with us? Are you telling me that they're as corrupt as we are? Because if they are, then that's a very sad condition of the universe. If they're not,
Mhm.
they would find us to be very dangerous. And
Yeah,
as in the three body problem, we're bugs.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I was thinking if they really wanted to take us over, why not? I mean, we've been vulnerable all this time. What would make us more vulnerable next week than we were last week? So I don't know. I don't know if they would want to show up and do bad things to us. I don't know what's the holdoff if
Or
they.
could we be so contaminated? Forget again is when,
Yeah,
and if you've never seen the series, go watch it. It's really good because they didn't know what the meaning of a liar is.
right. Yeah.
And that changed everything. And they said, you're dangerous.
Yep. Yep.
So, and I just think about this philosophically. I come from Christianity, a very deep embedded belief system that was predicated on death. It's what the
Mhm.
whole religion is about. It's about death.
Mhm.
And you hear the story that there's this God, and then there's angels, and then there's the duality of the angels, the demons, and that somehow or another we're the center of the focus of the universe, and everything is in play on us. Well, that's a recipe for basically species suicide. And I think
Mhm.
to myself, if ET exists, I think they would find us broken. And I don't know if they are willing or wanting to fix us because eventually we're going to self-destruct. So I want to hear you, and I'll shut up on that because it's a concept that doesn't get talked about.
I think it's, related to what is the truth of the human situation. And I think it's that we've been manipulated big time because when you look at it, it's the system that's always pushing war, hatred, division constantly. This is how they manipulate us. I don't think most humans are inherently more evil than good at their core. I think the vast majority are very good, but there are some that are definitely more evil at their core. And that's, who they recruit to, put in the high places
They
because
always seem to rise to power.
yeah, so
Yeah.
like when you
It's not
rise
Mr.
to
Rogers.
no, when you rise to the top, you're really rising to the bottom because it is a cesspool and it's what they cultivate. Again, it's like evolution is real, but not again Darwinian, because that's what they sell us: survival of the fittest, kill or be killed. You better eat them before they eat you.
Well,
So
that's the Old Testament God. That's what he told
Hmm.
yeah,
Joshua and Caleb when they went into the Canaan.
right.
Hmm.
Wipe
So
them out. I mean,
my viewpoint is the ETs would see us, and I think they would feel really bad for us, knowing that we're being
Well, if
manipulated
you
and
look to
used.
history, if you look to scripture, certain scriptures and different belief systems, and Hinduism, there's plenty of stories about the beautiful ancient shining ones coming down and helping humanity.
Tons, yeah. They're all
So
throughout all of our
I guess
myths.
we would look to our past to see
and you know
how
where
has
I
that
look to when I hear that?
what.
Genesis 6.
Hmm.
Hmm.
That was when our species was raped. It was a invasion and an incursion that contaminated our bloodlines.
Hmm.
And that was the fallen angels who came
But
down and mated with the daughters of men.
but when you look to Genesis 6, it's very, very small. If
It
you
is.
go again into the Chaldean Genesis, it's much bigger. And it gives you a lot more details about like those type of events. What the corruption was from one standpoint, again, the the Bible basically is given to us by people, again, like our presidents and Pope now. They're the ones that put it together. Constantine the Great, etc. King James, the head of all the Masonic lodges, his version, etc. They were the control system back then that put all these together and omitted all those other ones that didn't give you exactly what they wanted to use it for. The opportunity to use it as something that's control in this life and fear of being controlled in the next life. So again, I think everything is inside out and upside down. So when you look at Genesis 6, what if some of the beings, because not all the giants were cannibals, some of them were, but not all of them. Some of them were very benevolent. They're the ones that helped us build these Tartarian architecture, or helped our predecessors build those type of things, and taught us, the how everything works, from astrology to how everything is just mind
Well, that was
stuff.
the angel. That was Jinjumsa, Zhajant, and the other.
Samael and all
Yeah,
those.
there was 20 that actually came down initially. Then there was 200 of them, I guess, and thing. And the question I asked is that, for me, because it never explains it, doesn't explain it even in the Epic of Gilgamesh. There is some examples of Nihurzag and her genetic experiments, which would make sense. Because I don't see how a fallen angel, whatever you want to call it, would number one, have the sexual organs necessary to copulate with a human, woman particularly. And the question then becomes genetic. So, how did they have a genetic material that bound to our genetic material without any potential consequences? I don't understand that because I've had geneticists on here that said it's technically impossible.
Hmm.
Yeah, again, the problem is most of the world is coming from the Abrahamic lens. So they haven't read all the other mythologies, they haven't gone into different scriptures, they haven't studied the other traditions. everything they're looking at is coming from that lens. They can't see it
That's the
in any
problem.
other. That's it.
It
That's
is a
it.
problem.
Because when you start going into other traditions, like when I first read the Bhagavad Gita, when I first started going into the Puranas and the Upanishads, oh my God, it hit me. This is where they plagiarized from to make that, because that's what they did. But they gave us a totally different one with the viewpoint that everything in this world's our fault because
Yeah.
we disobeyed. We weren't good slaves. We disobeyed at some point in
Dare
time.
you ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely. So I also look at it as if other beings came here that were, benevolent, not malevolent, were trying to teach us things, actually did take wives, gave us some of their genes with their abilities and their intellect, they can't have that. You corrupted the bloodline in a way where that bloodline is going to expand. They're going to get more intelligent. They're going to get too powerful. We can't have this. We wanted that dumbed down slave that doesn't disobey. And that's what it is, really. It's just the opposite. People think that Genesis 6 is all about the corruption of humanity. No, it's about getting rid of all the good stuff that we had inherited from the benevolent ones that were here before the system came.
Yeah, and
You
there's
know?
the part of that story too is that they taught us. One
Mhm.
taught women how to paint their eyes and to become
Mhm.
much more alluring. They taught us agriculture. Yeah, because there's another part to that. There was
Right. And
a as any covenant would do, both sides have to benefit through the
this is how we
relationship.
this is how we know they lied because just look to Genesis 6 again, talking about the mighty men of old, men of renown. Wait a minute, that's
Hmm.
that's not bad guys. Those are guys people looked up to as heroes. Now they're making them out to be the bad guys. Oh, and because of this and them consuming everything, God sent a flood. No, it was because we were interacting with beings that can give us too much knowledge for us to be controlled. So this is again the system wiping it out and wanting to dumb everybody down again. This is the same system. I mean, they use the fluoride, they use frequency, they use a schooling which is nothing but indoctrination, not teaching us how to think properly. Just memorize and be good little slaves. Don't go outside of this book because you'll figure out it was all plagiarized material. And if you find the real sources, you'll recognize that we've inverted it and made it inside out and upside down.
That's the whole problem with the religion. And the fact of the matter is that it can't be ignored that the flood was also during a magnetic pole excursion.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing God, there was no God behind it. It was a natural phenomenon of nature. Now, maybe these beings understand electromagnetism, gravity, and those forces. Maybe they are truly the theoretical physicist of the universe, but they knew these things. And I contend that I don't think that these are so much people from outside the earth, but they're inside the earth. And they have the master knowledge of controlling electromagnetic forces.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong.
I can't help but think, after, especially with all the e-files coming out now, I kind of felt this before, but last night when we watched Mind Unveiled and he started bringing about the information about AI babies, like genetically manipulated children, and, taking people to make them give birth and even creating places out in New Mexico to impregnate women to give birth to these genetically changed children, sending out DNA, getting DNA samples from the royals, from everyone who's anyone getting their DNA samples. It feels like we're getting prepared for a huge reset. Um,
So how
it,
does that differ then from the 50s and 60s of alien abductions that, they were taking basically the DNA from us and using human females for incubators, basically, with the
the
hybrid
word,
children?
the word harvest really bothers me. It's always bothered me. And I wonder if this isn't the harvest time.
Yeah.
I don't think
Again,
it's the first time either.
No.
no, it's not. We know it's not because there's Neanderthals, Denisovans, and other, human species that were here that are just gone.
Well,
You know, they,
Genesis 6 could be interpreted as an alien abduction.
sure.
Yeah,
Hmm.
easy. You know what? I really believe everything that's on the news right now is very, very low vibration. And it's really
God,
hard
it's so
to not
bad.
look at it, but you can't get rid of anything by ignoring it. So it's like you have to look at it. But then is it also part of a greater ritual to pull us all down in a certain frequency and then hit us with something?
It's like changing the oil in your car. Most people don't do that.
Right.
Inevitably, you're going to get oil all over you.
You are. So
I
I've
mean,
been it's true, but I've been talking about learning Buddhist detachment. We call it Buddhist detachment. You know, it's like you recognize the thing, but you don't put your emotion in it. And if you do realize your emotion is in it, go watch some funny puppy and kitten videos for a bit.
it's designed to invoke emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as I came on this revelation, I was meditating and it hit me. The problem that we have in this realm is that it's dualism. It's the
Mm-hmm.
foundation of this whole construct. And as long as there's dualism, there's never going to be unity.
Mm-hmm.
Unity is impossible within the construct of a dualistic reality. And and that's just my personal opinion. I write my notes down as I'm going, and I'm going, well, that's true. I mean, isn't that what they do when they begin to see people who unify against the system? What do? They infiltrate those that are coming against the system, and then inevitably the proverb of a house divided against itself cannot stand.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
they divide us. That's what they did in the 70s, the late 60s and 70s. If they'd have left us alone, but no, we now know that, they had the CIA in there and they had the FBI. And I mean, that's what they were doing. And it was immediately to basically start internal strife. So the peace and love message went away because suddenly it became competition. And sadly enough, it became one of fame and money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I think again, the yin and the yang, we need that for any sort of motion. But it's about acceptance and not needing others to conform to others. It's just look at things from the standpoint of all the different varieties and variations are just beautiful and a blessing. I mean, even if you love Italian food more than any other, at some point you might want to try Chinese or something different. It's like spicing life
Tex-Mex
up.
is pretty good.
Absolutely, so,
Love
but
Tex-Mex.
this is where again the system, like, if you take the core beliefs that original sin, everything's our fault because of
Yeah.
something that our ancestors did. How about the fact that you need blood sacrifice to atone for that original sin? You're then condoning all forms of blood sacrifice. So people have said to me before, well, couldn't you, just go ahead and just acknowledge this? Because what do you have to lose if, just in case you're wrong and, it really is this way. But the thing is, when you acknowledge it, you're given power to it. And so, I personally don't believe in blood sacrifices, just saying.
The biggest regret I have in my
Mm-hmm.
former religion is ever partaking in communion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It horrifies me because and I've cleansed my soul of this, but it was a because I partook in cannibalism. And any way you look at it, metaphorically, you know, ideologically, however you want to look at it, it's cannibalism. And even worse, it's predicated on the blood cult.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
and
Now we,
from I grieve, I cry inside because, and I get it. I know you're taught this, but when when the transformation takes in place and all of us who've had that taken place, you can't go back.
Mm-hmm.
They'll
Mm-hmm.
never allow you back in. And the Matrix was true. But Mike and Cindy, that's the one that grieves my soul so much. And yet it's adaptive to righteousness,
Mm-hmm.
holiness, divinity. That's a death cult.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
please, I want to hear y'all's wisdom on this because and it's still, I mean, I could sit here and almost cry about this because it horrifies me that I partook of it. I mean, and I was a minister of the gospel and gave out the elements. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's, it's some heavy karma.
We're going through a time where these planetary alignments are just really wild because we have Saturn and Neptune coming together. And the last time they were together in this particular way, it was Christianity really exploded. It became mainstream everything. It's like now you have to
At
do
the death
this.
of millions of people, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
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 So
Hundreds of
what
millions.
I'm
Yeah, ultimately.
feeling this time with this united force is the truth is going to come out. Like, you discovered the truth, and since you did discover the truth, you feel terrible, but if you could just take your mindset now and go back then, you would do things differently. You have to accept yourself as you are now, the same as then, because had you known, you would make the
Well, it was
decision to
part of
make
the
it today.
initiation.
Yeah.
But this goes back to everything that we were talking about, like, how uh, bad human society is depraved and everything, just how we need to be isolated because, we're so bad. Again, we're being manipulated and it's being cultivated. How good would we really be if we didn't have this control system? Because, good news is never on the news. You don't, you put out, something really light and fluffy and happy. Nobody goes and clicks on it because it's been so imprinted to always look for the negative. And then you grow up in this thing where they're saying, original sin, you deserve torture forever, even past this life. And the only way that you could atone for it is to condone blood sacrifices. It's just kind of insanity, but it's how it's corrupted us.
I'd
It's
like to
how
know how ET looks at it. I really do. If and I'm not ET, so I can't think like them, but I'd love to have someone who's in touch with them, ask them about this whole construct of
Mm-hmm.
cannibalism. It's
Mm-hmm.
basically, and then the blood ritual. I mean, does higher intelligence condone that?
no, Cindy's channeled many different entities. So, like the Galactics, we're able to channel the Galactics. They feel bad for humanity.
There is
There's compassion.
there's a cyclical nature, a way of Mother Nature. Did you see a leopard eats, a deer, and you don't be angry at that leopard for eating the deer, for it was doing what it's supposed to do on this 3D realm. We are that way to a degree too, but we have a higher consciousness.
We
So
are animals.
we are, but we're still animals, and we still need things to make these vessels work. So are we horrible for getting things to make our vessels work? I guess that's the question. Does that make us bad? We're surviving, but how do you do that? I think it's really important, if you do eat steak and animal, you at least, make sure it came from a good place, and make sure it's clean, and it's going to be good for your temple, because you are now the expression for the all,
And give thanks and pray for the
and give
soul of
thanks
the
Well,
for
you
the
animal.
give thanks
soul.
for the soul. I mean, they
Yeah.
they're offering
Mm-hmm.
their soul for, but see that verifies my hypothesis that this is the death realm. I
Mm-hmm.
do not, in my soul or spirit, believe for a second that this is life.
Yeah. I look to the indigenous for a lot of answers, because how did they hunt? How did they eat? And if a deer did come to them, the deer was sent by the universe, and they thanked it, and they did all the things that were necessary to honor it. And they learned that from somewhere. They learned that from some other higher intelligence. So I think we're on a scale, and we have to accept what we are. If you don't like being in this physical vessel, that doesn't mean you just simply cannot eat. You have to eat. And even if we eat fruits and vegetables and we're like that, life had to die to make sure those fruits and vegetables made it on your plate. Insects had to die, mice had to die,
Death realm.
the death realm.
It's the
So
death realm. But we come here to learn.
we
That's why
do.
I'm convinced
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I do think that the soul transmigrates, and at some point in time, we might have been a deer out there. Our consciousness could have been inhabiting a deer, could have been inhabiting a bear, or a wolf. It's just all about learning and exploration and growing, and
I
hopefully,
was a hippie.
yeah.
I mean, I'm talking a fucking million years ago. I was still a hippie, walking around with sandals and,
Mm-hmm.
had the good ganja, how you
Yeah.
doing?
You
I,
know,
I
uh,
kid y'all. But that's how I feel in life so often. I'm here and it's as I've gotten older, it's gotten more amusing in many ways. And because I feel more detached, it's like I'm watching this, and yeah, I'm still sitting in there like Archie Bunker in his chair, but it's a different perspective now. It's yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway.
you're at a different place. So when you partook in that thing that you didn't like, you were a different person than you are now. And I feel strongly if you had the knowledge and the wisdom now and you could take it back then, you would make a different decision. But you can't be kind to your mind, give
No.
yourself grace
You know
and
what I
say,
say to myself?
what?
Run, Forrest, run. You know?
There you go.
That's what I tell myself. I love I've become so intimately acquainted back with my the little guy that I was, and I'm talking about the time when I was 5 and 6, and it's there, but it's quite comical almost because I am that future that I was not even aware of,
Mhm.
and it to me is one of the purposes I think that we come here. And if you're growing older is a gift because not a lot of people get to grow older. There's a lot of
True.
people that, and particularly now because of past incidences, that we all know about 4 years ago, a lot of more people are dying.
Oh, a
And
lot.
it's so not fair. And we got in so much trouble for pointing it out. We lost so
Yeah.
much. And still to this day, we are cryptic with our words where other channels can say things. It's like we're still traumatized,
It's like they won't, they got us tagged on that. But and it's true. I mean, you can look at the bits, and it's true. So growing older, and I'm so grateful for the experience of my religion because it was, in one sense, a 50-year initiation into what I call now the gnosis of understanding.
You
That
know,
prayer I made of asking wisdom, would she be my constant companion? And that gal gave me a kiss and said, sure, let's hitch up. And
Oh.
so here I am.
that's so beautiful. I'm looking at this eclipse as I like the word you used, initiation, because it's something that we go through and we turn into something else on the other side. And
Yeah.
it just completely changes our perspective and everything. And I feel like this eclipse is just going to be the biggest initiation
You
for
know,
many of
and
us.
people will just look at it and say, wait a minute, but we're not even going to be able to see it because it's going to be centered more towards Antarctica, South America, the southern part of South America, the southern part of Africa. But think about where it is, and think about the revelations. We know there's something going on in Antarctica that they cover up constantly. So if it's going to be about exposing that, that's huge. I mean, again, it's kind of a clue that we're really close to true disclosure. They've already given it to us, but still a lot of people, because of, what they've been indoctrinated into, can't accept it. So, and then of
When was the
course,
last time that there was an eclipse at the pole, north or south?
uh,
I
I
don't,
don't know.
I was present for both the X crossing here in the United States.
Hmm.
And I was thinking about this thing with Antarctica, and I went, number one, just from a uh, geo position of a spear, it's
Hmm.
kind of weird that it's like on the bottom of the southern hemisphere, which has a whole different constellation than we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Hmm.
going, okay, I believe that the ancients could harness the power that happens in these eclipses. It's just me. But if higher civilizations do exist, then they have the knowledge of how to harness the energy of the earth and of our sun.
Hmm.
Does this make it doesn't matter because it makes sense to me. And so
Oh, yeah. That's
if
the Kardashev scale. Or a
thank you.
Russian, a
Is that what
brilliant.
the word is? I think I did
Yeah.
not know that.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
I learn from you two all the time. I mean, it's like, you know, I just
Yeah.
like being on the front row and going, hey, can I,
Well, that's so cool too. When you have this, this revelation, and then you discover, oh, okay, somebody else had talked about this, so I'm not crazy. This is really how it makes sense,
My
you
mother had me tested.
know.
That's reference to the Big Bang. I'm not insane. My mother had me tested, but anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
there
don't
is
know.
something about this. And if there is a civilization that is potentially millions of years old, because I think the Earth has been a habitable planet for a long time. I think that this is and it's good because y'all give a perspective that I love having, and it's telling me that they've been waiting as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're in the know, if you look at the information in those e-files, it's like Bill Gates was answering to Epstein. I mean, really big people were answering to Epstein and asking
What the
permission
hell was
for
he
things,
thinking? I mean,
you
Well,
know?
I don't think he's dead. I really don't.
I don't
We
think
don't.
he's
We don't
dead.
think
a
he's
lot of
dead.
people
I don't
don't think he's dead.
know.
No.
No, when I look at him, I still see him. And by this point, if somebody is truly passed, they've usually changed forms or they've changed back to, what they want to
Well,
be.
no one
But
saw the body. No one saw it being taken out. No one saw the body. No one identified. I mean, it's like, come on. And then I think about Bill Gates. It's like, I attended a seminar in 1999. Bill Gates was speaking there, and he was speaking on business at the speed of thought. And now that I see what happened, and I'm going, see what happens to money? See what money does to you?
mm,
Hmm.
mhm.
Anyway, and that one is just, I don't know. It's like, so what do we do with this now? We know all the ones that have the kinky thing. What do you do with that?
That's right. You definitely don't want to attach to it. I think it should awaken people. What do you do with it? You have to just say, okay, that's part of my reality. And how are you going to change the way you're going to go about this day and the next day? Are you going to, I think we do our best to support the mom and pop shops. We do our best to support the smaller channels, those things that we know are real and tangible. I guess we can only do what we can do for ourselves first and always.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
You know, I was just thinking, like, if you only look at things from that biblical perspective, you aren't seeing the myths that talked about when these beings were here with us and literally teaching and guiding us. Again, if you look to the book of Enoch, it's only negative, but there's so many
Yeah. Messed
myths.
up book.
Yeah, again, I still think
The
the
Epic of Gilgamesh is a good, exciting. It's like I looked at it like reading the Odyssey.
yeah, oh, they're exciting and fun. Plato, so much of Plato's writings are really fascinating, but all that comes in after they've started to take control, or really did take control. So it's still all from their perspective. If you look going back farther into many different indigenous myths, again, that's where we get the indication that our interactions with other beings, for the most part, were very, very positive. And we were used to beings coming and going, and they were nice to us. They helped us in many, many ways. it wasn't
Isn't that the
until,
basis of the Hindu belief system? I mean, that
yeah,
these
because
beings were here, and I don't know, some left and some I think didn't leave, right?
well, yeah, I mean, the last one to go really, in one sense, was Krishna. And I do think the controllers, again, did their best to get us to worship the messenger instead of listen to the message. This, again, that's what they always do. But yeah, when Krishna left, which many think is about 5,000 years ago, 5,100, 5,300, that was the beginning of the Kali Yuga, when he leaves this realm. That's when the Kali Yuga starts, the Dark Age starts, because we don't have the interaction with the good ones out in the open anymore, where we did. And these beings called the Asuras, we have all that period between the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, where what happens with this other group, the Asuras? They come in, they enslave people, they rape, rob, and pillage. And they do everything that
And
we
these
see
are
the
spiritual
system.
entities,
No, these are flesh and blood.
flesh and blood. Okay.
Flesh and blood, real beings, physical beings. And so when they came and landed, they took over. They set themselves up as kings and also demanded worship, demanded the first fruits of everybody's crops. They demanded the
Sounds
best.
like the Elohim and Yahweh.
That's it. They're Asuras. From the Hindu tradition. That's the demons, the demonic beings, the Asuras. And when the
Because
Devas
I
were no,
really hate that son of a bitch. I just got to tell you, I've been taking showers at time, and I start thinking of Yahweh, and I go, if I could just give me 5 rounds in a boxing ring, just five. That's all I want.
yeah, I
But
mean,
I
so
digress.
so this is that
So
part of
would Yahweh probably be one of these beings of
Asuras.
the? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that would be all the ones that we think of as the biblical Elohim. They're the Asuras. So their way is totally different. They don't come here and just sit down with us gently and have discussions and teach us better ways of doing things. Maybe let us know, hey, that plant could help you with lung problems, things like that. No, they just come in,
They're
they
not going
take
to share a
over.
beer with us, in other words.
No, well, actually, they brought beer.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, the alcohol is
Well, that
is
was the whole story with Noah, right? I mean, with
yeah,
him and his 2 daughters, they got drunk.
Hmm.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think it was
yeah.
on honey wine, I think. But anyway.
But yeah, no, they did. They brought beer is actually Sumerian. It comes from Sumeria. It
Mhm.
comes from again these same beings.
So let
But
me ask you, Mike, and then inject in there. So where did the Sumerians come in with Enki, Enlil, Ea, the whole system that they have? Because
I
the
think
con
again that was a case where like Mind Unveiled was talking about the E guy. He had an idea that he wanted to be his genes, the foundation. He wanted to be the next Adam. He
hmm
want he wanted the next wave to be all from his DNA, his seed. So yeah, what they did when they came here, I think they did breeding. Yeah, probably test tube. It looks like test tube according to the Sumerian writings. It looks totally like it's all artificial insemination and all. And then they went and spread out. And when you have, like, say, Moses leading the Israelites, I think it's really again symbolic of the hunting down all those giants, hunting down and wiping out of everybody that was on the planet that had other ET type of blood in them, and anybody that wasn't of the new stock, which were much better, more obedient slaves. So, that's the extermination. That's the rolling out. The rolling out started there in the the Mesopotamian area and spread out all over the world. Eventually making its way over to the Americas, and again getting rid of the indigenous people's way of life and instilling in the Abrahamic traditions over here. And those governments that understood, you were carrying out again, the system, the control system, which is ultimately a combination of reptilian and, I think Satan is really representative of the reptilians. And then those Anunnaki who are not really much better, if at all better, which represent the, Old Testament Bible God. which, again, when you go to the Chaldean Genesis, it talks about Enlil, Enki, many others, Marduk by name. But then you go to the obvious, the Genesis we all know, and everything becomes Lord God.
Well, the whole story, in fact, Dr. Leonard and I are working on a paper because my whole foundation is that this all started. There were actually three different gods if you look at the book of Genesis, and by the time we get to the story of Abram, we're looking at God number three. And the proof of my evidence on the thesis is that whatever Abram went out into the wilderness to meet, at first you hear that he goes to war, so there's a lot of bloodshed with Abram, where this Lord God, Yahweh, blesses him on this, and then they get to the big moment where this God shows his true colors. And Abram would have known who Enki. He would have known the whole Sumerian polyther of the pantheon. And yet we read in the book of Genesis where this God commanded Abram to sacrifice the bull and then to walk into the entrails and then hide himself behind a rock as this God comes through and consumes the body, the bloody body.
Mhm.
And the reason why I know that this is not the same God in Genesis 2 or Genesis 3, this God um, desecrated the body. When he commanded Abram to circumcise himself, that's the evidence that this was not the God that supposedly created Adam and Eve in chapter 2.
Right. Yeah, so when you talk about that, I have the impression of an alligator or a crocodile consuming an animal.
That's the
I mean,
truth.
that's, but one that walks on two legs.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. There's so much there that's so obvious. Again, the Chitauri, they're nasty. I mean, the
Yeah.
Chitauri, and they literally in Marvel Comics have the Chitauri as a race of these, reptilian beings that come and attack us here. And then we're defended by Thor and all the good guys of that world.
Who do you think the
Yeah.
bad guys were in the myth of the Tower of Babel? Because that to me is the ultimate mind thing. I
Yeah.
get this idea that they had this ray that was able to encompass literally, I think, the whole earth, but to change the ability of language.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well,
Hey,
I
that's
think
some power.
what we've gotten and we've researched that is the Tower of Babel was more like a breakaway civilization, more like a Tartaria type thing where people were, outside of the system, not conforming to the system, working together and not hurting each other and being constructive. And that's not what the system wants. They can't, create through chaos, when we all just are getting along. So, again, this is another big clue that what they're talking of as being an evil thing, making a tower together that reaches, the stars, which again, I think symbolically they could be talking about a civilization that's gaining technology and knowledge and literally might not be bound to this realm anymore. They can't have it. So that's when they, totally put the kibosh on that and
What I
then
Go ahead, go ahead. I was just going to say that this.
rearranged our genetics, second chromosome fusion, and trying to always control the pineal gland too. So I think we used to be telepathic and we used to
I do
communicate
believe
through
that.
telepathy.
I believe that.
Thought
And I
so.
think also the Tower of Babel could have been represented as a silo of knowledge. It was like 22 miles in complete circumference. Big. I think they were building a spaceport, but that's just, I think that was part of the agenda. I think that that's what they were literally, because the Sumerians, they had spaceships. It was
Mm.
nothing new to them.
Hmm.
And what was it? The what is it that in the Hindu, the Varnas?
Oh,
Brahmana.
the manas.
Yeah,
The,
they had three different classes of those ships.
Oh, yeah, many more. Oh man. So I misplaced it. I got to find my book on that. There's a book
Well,
out
get
there
it out because I
so good.
think
Because yeah, I mean, literally, they classified them
yeah,
in many different ways. And the Vimanas that we would see would vary according to the yuga. So as you know, Kali Yuga, the ones we saw were mostly mechanical, but you still would see some ships that were really plasma beings or plasma ships. But yeah, they go down into talking about these different species. Like within the Asuras, there are different species, and they describe them. So they describe, like when we talk about fallen angels, they'll give you descriptions of what they think the fallen angels really are, and even in some cases telling of which star system they come from. Yeah, because these are different beings, and that's where, if we're just looking at it from the biblical perspective, we're never going to see it. You're never going to catch this. You got to, cross reference with other mythologies and systems. But what's given to us in the Bhagavata Purana and these other works of wisdom is mind blowing, because like some of the things that they taught us was quantum physics way back then. They were teaching us the devas, the good guys, before the system came into place. They were teaching us how the universe works. What is consciousness? Where does consciousness arise from? They teach us of transmigration of the soul, how the soul, takes on life after life, and you're not the body. It's like in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says to Arjuna, who's the hero, and the evil's growing in the world, and he tells him, you got to fight. You have to fight. That's why you're here. You're here to fight and try to, slow the spread of the evil. And he said, you can't really die anyway. Your body will die, but you're still there. Your consciousness can't be destroyed. This is what they taught us out in the open. It's not what the system does. Exact opposite. They teach us fear, 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 because they're all about controlling us, not about treating us like kids that you have to bring up to par before you can let them loose into the world.
You just described a lecture I was just listening to with Richard Feynman.
Oh, okay.
It goes hand in hand, that we are atoms.
Hmm.
And within those atoms, you can define consciousness. He said, but what we do know is that if consciousness is made up of atoms of some sort, he says it transcends through many multi dimensions.
Absolutely.
And just what you said. And I mean, I'm going, well, Feynman really did. The cat really knew. I mean, it's like Alan Watts. I love Alan Watts. That in his, but that's cool. You see what I learned? I mean, wow. Okay. This has been fun. I love this.
Good.
Um, you ought to see my notes. I got them in different colors because different colors represent, different categories.
Love it.
Well, so this has been fun. So give us a peek into what you think the week coming up is. We talked about now the eclipse is what, next Tuesday?
17th. So,
That's next Tuesday.
And
yeah.
then what, the 19th is the conjunction, is it?
Oh gosh, I
They're
think
they're right
so.
next to each
They're
other.
right next to each other. So next week, I'm mostly preparing my soul. I mean, I always know if there's, if they're going to say something major cataclysmic is going to happen. I mean, a lot of times it just doesn't. I mean, all the time it doesn't. But this comes with planetary information and backup and all kinds of things. So at least look to yourself and look in your own life. What is it? It's like we get a huge do-over now. It's like we get to start again. If something hasn't been working, well, this is the universe is going to really point it out to you when this comes. Just stop doing that. Be true to yourself. Love yourself. That is so important right now. Be true to you. Do not try to, if you have been lying to yourself or deceitful to yourself, the universe is going to show you. It'll say, no, you need to look at this. So I always turn it within because it's so overwhelming to look and think of the possibilities that could happen. And I would be ready for this year, alien life to be like all through the masses and people to understand it and know that it's real. And a lot of awakenings, I think, are going to happen. And then a whole new belief system after this system that we have now is, proven to be so um, non-functional, I think, the one we have right now where everybody's kind of at everyone else. And that's what I'm looking at for next week and a little bit beyond. So
I hope so. We're so divided.
yeah, we are.
Things, I don't remember in my lifetime things being this divided. And I lived through the Cuban Missile Crisis, the assassinations of Kennedy, um, Dr. Martin Luther, and we know Alberta, his sister. She's such a sweetie, but it's so divisive and it's so intense. I mean, and I'm seeing people that are acting irrational in their
Yeah,
thinking.
that's big right now. I think a lot of people's belief systems are being challenged, and that can be very frightening because
Yeah.
they need that. You need to stand on something. If you don't stand for something, you can fall for anything. So that's all being rattled right now. I think driving people to a scary place sometimes, but just love on yourself, focus in on you and keep reeling yourself back in if it gets too much with the e-files or anything that's going on out there into the world. Bring it back to you and just look in your immediate area and say, what is the next right thing I can do? What's the next right thing I can do? And that way you're just bringing it back home and not letting yourself get out there in the fray. So
So who was the one who said we had to fight? It's like
Yeah, that was Krishna.
Krishna is like, sorry, you got to get out there and,
yeah,
but kind of our lives have been that way, all of our lives. We've had to fight
yeah,
in many cases for survival.
Yeah.
yeah,
If you've never heard of this too, because in the Bhagavad Gita, the other thing that comes across is Krishna, who's thought to be an incarnation of Vishnu, the creator of the universe. Now, Vishnu in some circles is the sustainer, and Brahma's the creator.
Yeah.
But anyway, Vishnu through Krishna says, in every age when it's at its darkest, when it's at its real darkness, and everything looks catastrophic, I take a body. He says, I take a body myself, come in and help to rectify things. And this is, I think, what they basically based Christianity on was this one excerpt where it's talking about the creator coming in, taking in form themselves in order to rectify and help bring us back to the light. But you could also say there's been many, many, ascended master type beings that come in and do that. There's also a Buddhist legend too, where it says Buddha was alive on a totally different planet, totally different star system, and he heard the suffering on Earth. So he left that incarnation. He literally chose to die there physically in order to be reborn on Earth, in order to come and teach us from the inside out. So you see both of them doing that. So
And we never learned.
yeah, well, they keep reeling us back in, they get us to miss the point and to look in a different area. They're all about distraction, so
And I don't think we've seen the dark yet. I think that this is just the twilight. I think it's going to get a lot darker.
hmm
And I think, in fact, I heard this physicist say something yesterday that blew me away. He said that he's convinced that we're about to enter a time where he says he says we will think that this is what the myths were written about, the times of when the gods walked the earth. He believes that things are just physically lining up in the laws of physics, that something is going to
hmm
break loose. I mean,
It sure feels weird. Why would they be collecting DNA from, the
mm,
royals in Saudi Arabia? Why would they be collecting Bill Gates DNA, for crying out loud? Why collecting all this from all these other very high up people? Why collect all that DNA?
well, and again, the Sumerian story, what happened? Well, the Anunnaki just picked up, went in their ships, watched from above, and then came back down. So is there some sort of big reset like that planned? Could our own consciousness be used against us? Because right now, I think there's probably more anger on the planet than typical, way more. That's affecting each one of us as a cell in Earth. So all that anger, it's going to cause some Earth changes in and of itself.
There's a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's angry. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I see it, and wow, yeah, and it's that's why we stay away from certain programs because I tell Lynn, I said, I can't do it. I said, I can literally feel the pressure in the room change.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, I can't subject myself to, because I used, I knew Bill O'Reilly at one time, and I couldn't be around Bill today. It's just something's changed within me. It's toxic.
It's the same thing. You have grown so much, just like from the time you partook and to the time now. You've just completely grown into another being.
And it's mostly y'all's fault and everyone else in this chat room. Yeah, I had nothing to do with this. I'm just telling you right now. So, it's like I got no accountability. That's all I got to say. Well, I adore you two. It is always, always an honor to have the two of you because it is good conversation. Even when it's in topic like this, this is what a death cult society looks like. It's true, but the takeaways I'm taking away with, it really comes down to the individual's responsibility.
Yep.
There's this big mass out there. I get that, but the only thing I can truly control is what's in here.
Mm-hmm. Your response is your
That's
responsibility.
it.
Yes.
On my judgment day, there's only going to be one person in the room,
Yep.
me.
It's
And you know
true.
what I'm going to do to me? I'm going to say, come here, big boy. Let me give you a hug. So,
Compassion.
yeah,
Compassion it.
it does. It does. When my father passed, I was immediately drawn into the spirit, and I heard this voice saying, do you have a charge against the man who beat the crap out of me? And I said, I have no charge. And immediately I was right back here. So,
Mm,
um, yeah, I don't know
amazing.
why I said that, but anyway.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Thank
Oh,
you.
sure, sure. Yeah, no problem. But literally, it's what happened. So, all right, you two, y'all know where you can find them. Evolution and Healing Arts, it's over there. And if I need to tell you that, well, welcome to the channel. And if you're new, then make sure you subscribe over there too. So, and hit the like button. And when they repost, go over there and hit the like button again. See? Because that's how it works. We just feed the algorithm. And they may change the title, which is perfectly cool. But this has been a phenomenal conversation. So share it, grow with it, and add to it. Right?
Yep. Thank
Absolutely.
you, Wayne.
Well, thank y'all. See, I love this. And we'll be back together next Thursday because now we'll be talking post eclipse,
Yeah.
um, post Ash Wednesday.
Mhm.
Because that's the Wednesday, next Wednesday is.
That's another
So
thing. So you have the eclipse, you have Ash Wednesday, and then you have that conjunction on the day that we're going to be talking. Interesting.
strange things be, and in fact, did not the Christ say in Matthew that the sign of the times would be seen within the heavens?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think we're about to see some things in the heavens.
I think so.
Yep.
All right. Love y'all. See
Much.
everyone tomorrow
Be
if you're
safe.
good. All right. All right.
Okay,
So
bye.
until then, everyone, favor be to you and give a little favor to the person next to you. It's always good. All right. Much love, everyone.